I think there's a lot of buying pressure going on behind the scenes about silver, and we're going to see an explosive move to the upside. Not in the next couple weeks, I don't think, but it's going to be happening this year, and not talking late this year. I think it's going to be more like you're going to see stuff happening even within a month or two. You know, that's music to people's ears. That's what people want to hear, but I'm not trying to just tell people what they want to hear. I'm trying to make the move myself that's correct. And obviously, I keep realizing, telling myself, if I am correct, I can't tell the world. But I don't have an extremely big channel, so I'm not telling the world anyway. You know, as far as the recent events, we're probably going to see some more downside to the metals. I'm thinking, you know, it looks that way today, obviously. You know, it's easy to predict something as it's happening, right, as most people do. But there's a lot of problems going on in Europe. It's still, right? The euro's falling as Spanish stocks are sliding. Today there's a lot of problems in Spain. You know, there's been a lot of flight out of the markets as far as the banks in Spain and Italy over 6 months. It's been going on. The British pound sterling rallied to a 19th-month high versus the euro after the Bank of England minutes. So, you know, there's more problems with the euro going on. So, usually when the euro takes a hit, guess what happens? You know, the metals take a hit because there's a flight to safety to the U.S. dollar. Now, we do know the dollar is probably going to be downgraded this year. And I heard, yeah, and I know I like information I get from, well, I'll talk head fakes, you know, gives me some good information too. I've seen some things, and little common sense though, I keep relating back to things they stated back in October and November about warnings about the budgets. And I already see them blowing the budgets, but you know, it's not in the headlines. It'll be in the headlines after the fact. So that's going to bring gold up. Election or no election, there's a lot of other people in the United States that run things. You know, I don't get concentrated so much on Obama and politics per se. I kind of look at what could happen in reality. I really kind of blow off all the politics all the way, really do. I'm looking strictly at money. And on Thursday, this Thursday, the Spanish bond market is bracing for another auction. So we might see some more downturn in the metals. But this is real temporary. This is real temporary. I'm still actually in a short position on gold. You know, crazy, right? Sounds really, really crazy. But, you know, it's probably going to do okay. Because actually this damn fund, I'm going to chicken out of it, though. I mean, if the gold goes down to like near 1,600, goodbye. I'm out of this damn thing. And I'll probably start going long. Maybe not even on leverage because, you know, it just might be in little pieces here and there. I actually did get long on the palladium, and the platinum, also very recently the platinum. Now, actually, I'm down a little bit on that still, even though, because I got in there not at the right exact time. I didn't time it exactly right. You know, I read a story from Johannesburg, South Africa, that they had a major problem. They lost 3% of their annual production of platinum in South Africa, and one of the biggest miners for the annual production, just over the last several weeks strikes. Tens of thousands of ounces of production lost. So, I kind of figured that might affect the markets. You know, it was dropping some. But then again, gold, the gold-platinum ratio is now, gold is only 4% more than platinum instead of 5%. So I'm kind of like the double short on gold versus the standard long position on platinum. It's kind of working out okay anyway. It's kind of protective short. It's kind of weird how that works. As long as you're patient enough to sell the one at the right time. That's usually how that works. So I'm going to hang on to this position a little bit longer. Now, some of the things coming up with silver. First time in history, the Chinese and all the silver investors in Asia can buy silver future contracts and take delivery of the metal in Hong Kong. That's coming up. I know maybe people way into silver know about this stuff, but this is coming up. They're also, it's going to encourage a lot more speculation because they only have 1,000-ounce troy ounce minimum to buy into a contract versus the 5,000 ounce. Big, big, big difference. And you know what? The mentality, you know, they don't really state this around here, but God, I don't know. I know Chinese and Japanese aren't the same, as far as, some Americans seem to lump them together as Asians, but I don't know, Asians seem to be big time gamblers to me, addictive gamblers, and when this is opened up, God, I think it's going to push silver way to hell up, but I'm hoping to sell at the right time. I would love to see it go to $200 and sell on triple leverage, obviously, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'm going to watch those ratios. I know that Jim Sinclair talked even about the 28-to-1 ratio. That might be true. And I think the best thing to do is to watch your ratios. And it gets down to like 34, 33-to-1 with, silver to gold. Start selling off some silver in pieces and steps carefully. Don't sell all of it, And electronically, it might be pretty smart to pull the trigger. As long as you researched what your next move might be. It might be in another area completely. The Pan-Asian Gold Exchange page is about to open soon, estimated to open by June 2012. So there's going to be a hell of a lot more people jumping into the market. And also, China takes up about 23% of the global demand for silver. Now, if you figure you got a bunch of investors out there taking physical demand, wow, watch out, watch out. Guess what's going to happen to this metal? That's the big difference between the 1979 and today. I know the unemployment doesn't look good in the United States, but then again, it's the whole world. It's the whole world. So globally, you might be figuring, what's the global market going to do? Maybe we could have this blow off top, but I don't think it's going to come about in 2012. What's going to happen with the silver cheerleaders, though, and some of the silver snake oil people, I have to call it that way. When this thing starts rising up over 60, and my guesstimate is, it really could go a lot higher than I would think. Sometimes I hate that, and sometimes the big thing to me is to plan the next move, because I'm probably not going to sell right at the top this year, but and also I'm going to do it in stages, but and even physical. But I'm not even actually into Sprott Fund right now. I'm waiting still. But I think it's going to probably go to about over 70, maybe closer to $80 this year, silver. But it could surprise me and hit close to 100. That would be dangerous right there, especially if you're in leverage, boy. I'd be ready to jump out of that stuff in 2 seconds flat if I got into it on leverage around 30 and the damn thing was approaching $85 or something. Well, I would have already got out of it. But I think that we're going to hear a lot of hype about it going to 200. But if gold is around 2,500 or 2,400, even that high, silver's not going to go to $200 on that kind of ratio. I don't think it's going to happen like that. That's very, very unrealistic. So watching those ratios is extremely important. And also watching which characters are pushing the stories out there. I kind of put that thing out there about the clowns. I'd watch every single one of those and take everything they say with a grain of salt, because they're probably going to mislead you. I think like Mike Maloney, he's not going to say a lot, though. And David Morgan, he's not going to say a lot either. Eric Sprott, be careful, but, if you watch what he's selling or whatever he's doing, you might be able to get some good hints. But like I said, watch the ratios. Don't watch the hype too much, because those guys will mislead you. And, actually that's the only way I'm going to make money, is if people get misled. But, I guess I can't tell the majority, I guess it's the game, right? Anyway, silver right now, it's sitting around, $31 or whatever the heck it is. It's right, it's actually still, the downward trend is still intact. And it's quite amazing that it's had this weekly downward trend for so many weeks. I find this ridiculous, because it's never happened like this before, where we had this many weeks in a row. And, this week might, it's kind of showing where it looks like it might change. But I don't think so, because what's going to happen is more bad news with Europe, and you're going to see the Spanish bond auction, have a problem or something like that. But this thing is not really downtrending anywhere as fast as I thought it would. And makes me think there's a hell of a lot of buying pressure behind there. So I'm probably going to get out of this double short gold position pretty soon and start going long on gold and silver, especially silver. Very bullish on silver. And like I stated before, watch the, well, if you're one of the few people that actually want to play the market in and out, hopefully I'm telling people what to do. And I'm not recommending to go into extreme leverage unless, you know, Ben Bernanke opens your mouth and you can go ahead and do that for a day. But I don't do that myself. I went into double leverage on silver short, and I sold off, and I made a small gain on it. Biggest thing I did correct is I'm staying out of the market pretty much, and I'm waiting to buy in lower. And I haven't actually done everything perfect, but actually when I'm buying in, I'm actually buying in non-leverage. My next move probably will be to go long on PSLV, which is no leverage. But I will go leverage at one point in time. I will. That's no doubt about it. Here's the gold chart again. You know, more downtrend. And, you know, I still find it kind of incredible that it's going to get down to 1,500. I don't think it is, to tell you the truth. I don't think so. I could see it going below 1,600 or getting around this area. But, you know, like I keep saying, I'm too bullish on the metal. But something's telling me there's a hell of a lot of buying pressure going on behind the scenes. With the type of news that's been coming out of Europe and all the problems going on, and this ratio from, you know, the platinum to gold doesn't make sense, which shows that industry is actually pretty far down. And everybody in the know realizes that the U.S. debt is going to be downgraded again, probably pretty soon, probably within 6 months. So I can't see too many people, you know, not being in gold. I mean, I don't know what's going on here. Maybe the stupid people are getting out of it right now. I know I'm double shorting it, but that is a very, very temporary move and a risky maneuver. And I might be out of the double short this week. You know, I might be out of it this week. So I'm kind of like, I don't really like shorting gold at all. I don't like shorting silver. I could have shorted silver a little more, but I'm kind of waiting patiently, and I just want to buy low. You know, I'm too bullish on the metal also. But like I stated before, watch the guys I call clowns, because when this thing starts flying up, and it's going to fly up like crazy this year, they're going to tell you, keep buying, keep buying. You know what? If you got the stuff, just sit and hold. Do what the hell you want. But I mean, it's your maneuver. But what I'm doing is, I'm not buying any more of this stuff. I'm way too lopsided on it is. And it's not your only salvation. You know, all the markets electronically are not going to crash. And the guys that are telling you, you know, buy only gold coin, buy only gold, silver coin, they generally sell newsletters, and they generally are making electronic money, going on to speeches with different people, telling everybody the world is ending. So they quite don't believe it themselves. So I don't know. I do recommend everybody should have some physical metals, even if they just get the physical nickels today that are 75% copper, 25% nickel. That's going to probably be something that's going to double, and even in a couple of years when they start getting rid of the those type of coins, probably this year, that's probably going to take a serious premium. You'd be surprised, but that wouldn't even be a bad investment. So I think people need to get into some real assets. Now, if people really smart, if people have a green thumb, what they ought to do is get into agriculture. That would save you more than anything, because you could sell to the people who have the silver coins in a real emergency if that really comes about. But anyway, just want to state, you know, for a summary, probably a little more pullback coming even in April. I can't believe it myself, but this pullback does not have too much more life left in it. This stuff, when it takes off, it's going to take off. It's going to start pushing up in big steps, and people are going to get very excited when it starts going up to new record levels, and you're going to start making wild predictions again. So if you're playing the market, just look at the ratios, look at the normal freaking stuff, and don't listen to the drama people out there, because you're going to lose. And I don't have all the answers, but I try to stick with logic and real hard facts versus drama. And J.P. Morgan didn't cause palladium and platinum to fall either. Even though there's a lot of fundamentals for those metals. So not everything out there is a big conspiracy. So beware. And I do buy into the conspiracy theory, believe me, but not to the extent these people are pushing it. God, crazy. Anyway, that's all I got to say. Silver's got a little more downtrend trend, but it is going to fly like crazy this year. Just beware of the emotional BS happens when it starts flying.